Diamonds on my wrist when I step up on a diamond, 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 diamonds on my wrist when I step up on
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? We are back. We are live. The Freight Coach Morning Show, the top transportation morning show, breaking down 3 industry articles every single weekday at 10:30 a.m. 10:30 a.m. Central, 8:30 a.m. Pacific. And as always, you guys, my friends over at VHub, make this show possible for us every single day. And asset reallocation is the wave of the future. All right, that's where we are in freight. That's what we need right now. We need these opportunities to continue to stand out in any freight market, because at the end of the day, you guys, freight is still moving. So with what we got right now, I'm going to throw this up there on my screen. And again, we have some of this information will be available on the audio only version later on today. But what we got right now, they have these one-way repositionings, you guys, over going from Chicago up into, as you can see, Toronto and the Montreal area. And as you can see, you get paid to do this, you guys. So that is on top of the revenue that you gain for moving these shipments out there. And then they get you back out of there as well. All right, so you go in there, you drop that trailer, you grab another empty, you get loaded up, and Coteau du Lac, I'm trying to work on my little French thing going there. And then we're going down to York, PA, Shippensburg, PA. You can see stuff going down to St. Louis, Missouri, as well as Chicago. And then they also have the one-ways as well, you guys. And again, $18.50 is what you get paid on that. Talk about a great way to cover some of that rising fuel, diesel, or AKA gold right now, to help offset some of that cost and stay profitable. So again, check them out, you guys. Check them out, my friends over at VHub, vhubapp.com. Hit up my man Xavier Campos, Stacy Steen. They can help you guys out with all those questions. I got a very special guest for you guys. I'm going to just drop him in right now. I got my man Adam Wingfield here today. Adam, what's up, man? How are you?
What's up? Good morning, everybody. I hope everybody's doing well today.
Oh, man, it's Thursday. It's a holiday. So, hey, FYI, you guys, again, here's another reminder. Talk to your shippers, talk to your receivers, talk to your carriers, find out what is going on this weekend. Hours. Let's get ahead of it, you guys. Let's be the professionals that we want to be out in this. So what are you seeing out there in the carrier land right now, man? What from a driver's perspective coming into the holiday weekend, what's something they can look out for?
One thing is, one of the biggest things you got to be careful for is cargo theft. You know, when you just being aware of what's going on. You know, I tell you one thing that they see too is that the little uncertainty with the Friday and Monday. You know, Friday with shippers closing early, Monday with some shippers and receivers not even open. So there's a little bit of uncertainty there, but one of the things I just want people to be really, really cautious about, especially with the small carrier, is cargo theft is a real thing. And just make sure that they're doing the things to protect the value of the shipment at all times, too, as we move through this weekend.
No, absolutely. Absolutely, man. Hey, we got to give some shout outs out here. Mr. Dennis Everett out there over on YouTube hitting us up. Good morning, Dennis. His nickname's Bear. He's a driver out of South Dakota. He's got himself a nice little reefer setup going on out there. Drew, good morning. Vitaly, you know the answer to this. God damn it. He's just busting my balls early. Otto, what's going on, brother? Good morning. Pat Green, good morning, sir. And Christopher Brewer, what's up, brother? How are you? Hey, we're up to day 34 in the Freight Coach tally, you guys, of there being a parking issue as well as a bathroom issue, amongst other facilities issues in this industry. Again, we don't do this for clicks, you guys. We don't do this for vanity metrics. We're here about education and progress. And I know we're not going to go silent until there's actual change out there. And that change is going to come when the drivers stop sending me pictures of facilities that are out there. All right. Until that happens, that's when I'll see change. And again, like, this isn't everywhere. All right. At the end of the day, I'm not directing this as a whole. It's just bringing awareness to these things. It's just like some of the videos I put out there about brokers and some of the tactics that I know are going on out there. I'm not calling out brokers as a whole. I'm calling out the tactic in general. Okay. There are great people in this industry. And I believe I'm very, very clear on the fact that there are a lot of phenomenal people in this industry on the driver side, carrier side, brokers, shippers alike, you know. But again, there's some real shady shit that happens. And if you can't admit that, that's an issue. Michael, good morning, sir. First timer. There we go. We need a first timer like Bell or something like that, man. I don't know. Dan Penrod, what's going on, brother? How are you? And then, yeah, guys, we're still up to $5.57 a gallon of gold right now, aka diesel. National average that's out there right now. And again, you guys, my friends over at Trucker Tools, literally on their app, they have fuel breakdowns on those routes. So if you're running a load from where Adam's out in Charlotte going to Nashville, Tennessee, it does fuel stops and it shows all that information out there. And I know my man Adam's got some stuff like that too for all of his drivers and stuff. So, that's one thing that Adam is the voice of the small carrier, in my opinion, you guys. He's out there. He's working with those owner ops. He's working with the small companies to keep them in business and teach them the importance of knowing how to operate in any freight market.
Yeah, one of the things that people really, they either fail to realize or they just kind of fail to identify as most important is understanding that it's still a real business and you still have to run this like a business. And, the thing is that we find a lot of small carriers in the marketplace that don't know how to do even the basics of a P&L. And P&L is part of business. So education over compensation all day long.
No, absolutely, man. And that's the thing is it's like we're at the end of the day, we're no longer a driver with a business. We're a business owner that also happens to drive. And that's the way that we got to look at this. And again, man, as Adam and I talk frequently, and it's about the education piece. Whether people decide to do with it is their own prerogative. But at the end of the day, Adam and I are very aligned on progress and putting this education out there, because as a business owner, as somebody who's building this up out of nowhere, and Adam's in a very similar situation, there's no playbook for this shit, you guys. A lot of us, it's a massive risk to go into business for yourself, and you don't know all the answers, but why not put information out there that people can just apply to their daily lives and expect nothing in return? There's a lot, like, I'm a big believer in karma. That's a very real thing. The more value you put out there into the world, the more value that gets brought back to you, in my opinion.
I think it's the only way that's going to change the industry is when you do that. That's the only thing that's going to change. I think that the biggest thing is that, for so long, even when I started in trucking, everybody, there was nobody that taught me how to become a successful owner operator. There was no resources out there. There was no morning shows every single morning that I could tap into. It was just, you in your truck and you just figure it out. I think that the mentality now is still the same though. We still have the resources, but until folks get out there and want to make a decision to pat each other on the back and let's move this industry forward, it's going to be the same industry. But I'm tired, man. I'm tired of the same industry. I'm tired of the same way of doing things. It's stupid. It's old. It's time to be progressive. We're in 2022. Let's get with the program, man.
Yeah. No, absolutely. We got to shatter these silos, you guys, and it's up to us. Nobody's coming to do this but us. All right. So that's my whole thing. Let's jump into the first article. This one's coming from my friends over at the JOC. U.S. data shows truckload LTL pricing still rising. This one was written by Bill Cassidy. I had the opportunity to meet Bill a couple weeks ago, man. He's a good dude. Goes in and said U.S. spot truckload rates have fallen sharply, but not necessarily overall truckload pricing. For statistics shows a steady increase in long-distance truckload and LTL pricing during the same period this spring that drive-in spot rates have plunged. The BLS long-haul truckload producer price index, PPI, rose 5.1% in April from March and was up 7% from February. Contract rates are going up, even as spot rates decline, said Tal Dickinson, a senior economist with S&P. Dickinson, who tracks trucking prices, said the BLS data reflects the strength of contract pricing as shipping freight it shifts away from the spot market. He's not too surprised that these numbers are going up, but he's surprised by the magnitude of it all. So what are you seeing out there, man, as a whole? Because I think sometimes as an industry, we get caught up in the overall is that, but they're as my friend Kyle Lintner broke down, and I know this, every single freight market operates differently. Just because the average nationally is one rate doesn't mean that there is not profitable freight running from Charlotte to Atlanta or Houston to Kansas City and stuff like that. That doesn't necessarily reflect that.
Now, 100%, the riches still remain in the niches. And the thing about it is always been that way. There's always been those spots that you can get in there and you can find not only good freight, but good lane opportunities. And then when you think about niches, and I think about niches when you talk about from an LTL perspective, that's a niche operation. From a truckload carrier to be able to navigate through an LTL marketplace as a full truckload owner, that does require a little bit more skill and detail whenever they're going through the spot freight and booking LTL, but that is a niche and there are riches within that niche. And there's this time more than anything else is a focus on the niches. And it didn't surprise me when he said that, contract rates are still increasing.
Yeah.
Spot is kind of falling off because a long-term capacity securement is really, really important. And it was so evident over the last 2 years where capacity was at a tight hold that they couldn't get to that capacity. But I feel like that it's more important to secure those long-term relationships and secure that because spot market is showing so much volatility. And then from a volatility perspective, with rising fuel prices, with carriers going out of business, left and right, you kind of get a little bit nervous about being able to rely on spot market capacity. So I'm not surprised about that already. I think it was a really good read, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But pulled out more than anything is I love the fact that we're starting to highlight LTL as a niche market, because there's some really good opportunities out in the LTL space. Coming out of bad lanes, for instance. I had a dedicated lane, Chris, when I was running my reefers down in the South Florida. I had a dedicated lane of strawberries going down in South Florida. But the funny thing is I figured out a little LTL mix. I pulled signs. It was just this sign maker that would probably ship 3 or 4 pallets of signs. And then there was another candy manufacturer that would distribute about 20 feet of candy. So putting those two together, I was able to come out of South Florida at about $1.90, $1.95 a mile, and typically you come out of Florida at $1 a mile. But doing that LTL in that LTL piece, that's a secure niche, man. And I'm telling you, it's one that's very much overlooked because a lot of operators don't live in that space.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it is marrying up. A lot of those shipments are, like that's one of those ones where if the cards fall in place with each other, then absolutely that's 100% what you need to do. I mean, I know in the open deck space in particular, there's guys out there who will literally throw 4 partials on one flatbed, and then they literally make like 70% of a full truckload rate to move one piece. Because it's like, especially if it's from like 3 or 4 different shippers, they're all like, oh, this is great. I can move this for $500. The full truckload rate on this is 11 or something like that, So it's like they look at that and then they literally double their price that they would get out there. So again, it's getting creative with this stuff because not everything is full truckload drive-in that's out there. There's so many subsectors of this industry. And as the freight sensei says out here, riches are in the niches. Like we talk about this a lot. It is create that network and create what you're good at. Just because the overall market says one thing doesn't mean the entire market is just that. And I think if anything, my prediction, this is, take this for what it is. Again, I'm not out here to be right. I'm not out here about calling shit first and trying to do anything other than provide you guys my actual experience of moving freight in this industry instead of talking about moving it. I've actually done this job for a very long time. You're going to see these contracts probably hold in place until after the 4th of July. Then I could see a walk back or that conversation really rolling out about rebids and everything else. And you're going to see, it's not going to be a seismic shift. Like no shipper out there, in my experience, is going to literally slash their freight spend by 50% overnight. That's not going to happen. They're going to look to eke out some savings where they can. That's their job at the end of the day, you guys. That is literally their job. So it's like that I can see that happening right now. But again, that's not everything. There's still those lanes that you're talking about right there, Adam, that you guys can go directly to the shipper and lock in long-term pricing. And who knows, your rate with your profit margin built into that might be like 30 cents a mile cheaper than what they're paying right now. And they will gladly give it to you for the rest of the year.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, I think that's good for subsectors such as hot shots. There's hot shots out there, box trucks, folks that operate in the box truck space as well. Because, like you said, everything is not about 53-foot drive van. You got to make sure that you look at full optimization as well. Because the thing about it, anytime you've got deck space on a flatbed, or if you got any type of cube space within the side of a drive van, that's an opportunity for you to add a couple more dollars onto the back of that shipment that can, potentially cover the cost of diesel fuel. You just don't know. And the thing is that you got to look at it from that opportunity as a whole. But I'm telling you, man, LTL is a really, really good way to navigate through times like this when overall spot rates are not where they're at. Get good at parceling, parcel that stuff together. The thing is, you got to get good at that. Make sure that you know that. Make sure you have the conversation with the broker to see if it's a dedicated shipment or not. And you can put anything else with that shipment if you got room, and make sure you got the things that you need, like load locks to separate the material from the inside. But on an open deck, man, it's all fair game, man. You running flatbeds, man. If you get good at that LTL game, man, you're able to get out there and you're gonna be able to navigate through this pretty easily.
100%, man. As my friend Dan Penrod points out here, anything over 750 cube is a perfect opportunity to look at a truckload backhaul as it exceeds LTL thresholds. That article, you guys, was from the JOC. Check it out. I signed up for them. They have a ton of great information that's out there. I gladly love supporting the JOC. US data truckload shows truckload LTL pricing still rising. All right, second article. Trailer orders dropped by nearly half in April. Again, headline says one thing, article says something completely different on why a lot of that happened. And again, you guys, like, this is the whole point of us actually reading articles as opposed to reading headlines and formulating our opinions off of that. It goes on that trailer orders dropped from the previous month as production uncertainties continue to leave manufacturers cautious in the ongoing strong market, setting up the order books for a 2023 surge. Order placement remained choppy in April, and dry vans with a 64% month-over-month slide in net were responsible for this. And it goes on to say OEMs gain sufficient confidence in their until OEMs gain sufficient confidence in their supply chain and labor availability to open 2023 production slots, expect a surge of orders to officially be accepted. So essentially, what the article is saying is it's a coordinated effort to why sales are down, because they don't know that they can actually execute upon the orders that are coming in due to supply chain issues. Sounded like, from what I read in this article, it has a lot to do with the fact that their materials, their raw materials, are delayed with stuff, and they don't know if they can manufacture anything. So that's why they're pushing out those orders.
It's been like that for years now, though. Trailer usage, trailer availability has been down for almost 2 years now, man. And the only thing that I will say about this article that just is a little just unsettling is it kind of makes it look like, hey, you know what? Trailer orders are down. If you just look at it from a headline perspective, trailer orders are down all of a sudden. That's going to support the fact that, trucking is going to the toilet. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, now they don't need any more trailers anymore, which is not the case. It's not that we don't need more trailers. We're tired of waiting on trailers. There are trailers that are in the pools now. A lot of them, what I see more now is the age of trailers more than anything else. We used to be able to say, hey, you know what? 10 years and newer is really kind of what we want to standardize. But right now, you just got to use what you got out there. And you're going to see a lot more older trailers pulling up to your facilities, guys. So, you're going to see 04s, 03s, 02s that you're going to have to load. And I know that's something that you don't want to have to deal with and you don't want to hear about. But it is what it is. We don't have the newer trailer availability out there. The product's not there. So we got to use what we have. But what you will see is you'll see the age of trailers be a little bit older when they back up to the docks of your facilities. And you're just going to have to negotiate that with your shippers and your receivers and let them know that that's what's going to be taking place. But ultimately, that doesn't mean that we don't have trailers in terms of, in terms of the industry as a whole. It's just that what we got is a little older because the new stuff's not rolling in yet.
No, absolutely. But again, like I'm right there with you, man. Like, and then it like, depending on the commodity that you ship, like you got to think food grade loads, everything else, they're not going to see that stuff, but you will see some of that in the commodities, like the recyclables, the plastics, and there's like, I guess you'd call them the scrap loads and the trash loads or whatever that looks like. I moved, like, again, as a sales rep, dude, I'll haul anything. We used to haul trash from Phoenix into Long Beach, and they used to export that shit out of Long Beach. So again, like that's where these trailers are going to be utilized in that capacity, So again, it's like, it's just another factor that's going on out there. But from my perspective, the article was essentially, hey, we're kind of pushing up. We're pushing out the new orders from these, just due to the fact that there's some issues that are going on out there right now. So
it's all supply chain related. When you have lumber is when you have lumber pricing, when you have all of the things that kind of feed into them, and when you have some of these trailers out here, especially with the reefers with the smart technology on them, you're not able to get the chips that go into those reefers, so that definitely delays it. So obviously that's a different dynamic than they discussed on this particular article, but it all has to do with just overall availability. But like I said, all that really kind of just boils down to is just a little bit of older age in fleet, a little bit of older age in terms of available capacity. And, unfortunately now we can't sit there and hold to the old, adage that, hey, you know what, I can't have your trailer on my yard if it's older than 10 years old, because really it's not realistic in this day and age currently.
No, absolutely, man. Casey Sawyer, sorry. Good morning. Grace Sharkey, what's up, Grace? Two's hard work. I'm second. Adam's the hardest working man in freight. I think I'm in second place right now. And I don't know. Blythe knows Jacksonville Jaguar football. She likes talking shit. So Blythe's great. We're just out here making shit happen every single day with this. That article you guys was from fleetowner.com. Trailer orders dropped by nearly half in April. Let me see here. We got take care of the older trailers and less likely to draw attention. If you're running a sheet in a post unit where the interior looks terrible, you have a greater likelihood of that VIN plate checked. Matt Fink. That's
a gem right there. Make sure you take care of those older trailers, man. I know a guy that lives and dies by refurbishing older trailers, bringing them up to new sets and get those things out there almost looking new. Delmar Wood, he's out here too. Really good guy that does really well in trailer leasing down there in Georgia. But you got to take care of that older equipment, man, because if you pull it out on the lot and it looks good, if it's got nice tires on it, great brakes on it, floor and walls are in good condition, no holes in the roof, you ain't gonna have no issues. Yeah. Load me up.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, let's be honest, if you're not hauling freight in and out of California, you're good. California is the only state that likes to fuck people over intentionally, it looks like. We can talk about that on a later date, but man, I think that's one thing before we jump into the last article. We're coming up very quick, you guys, on a very, very big problem. If that shit doesn't get fixed out there with AB5 in California, I'm going to be honest, that's a fucking nightmare.
Yeah, I just don't know. I don't know. It almost could spell shockwaves throughout the entire industry. I just feel sorry. I don't want to say sorry, but I feel bad for those folks out there, those hardworking owner operators, independent contractors out there in California, because you deal with so much. Even from the standpoint of the CARB regulations now that they're going to take about 80,000 trucks off the highways if we don't get these engines upgraded to meet some of the DPF demands. And then you look at the fact that you can only drive 55 miles an hour through the entire state of California from nose to tip. There's so many things that just spell just pain points for our drivers and owner operators out there, that it's so heavily regulated out in California that you throw in another layer of AB5 and it's going to be almost completely untruck friendly. I want to make sure that's known.
Dennis Everett, I wholeheartedly agree with you, sir.
Yeah, for sure.
It's that's a whole other conversation, but to summarize my opinion on something like an AB5, you guys, people need to if they want to work for themselves, they should not be forced into a union. They should not be forced into anything that changes their classification that's out there. If you want to be an owner op, you want to run your business, you want to live out your American dream, you should be able to fucking do that. I just do not agree with the framework of that at all. I can't be any more clear than that. And I will not change my stance on that, because that would have essentially put my father out of business and my uncles, my entire family that were drivers and that are still drivers. That fucks with them. And I don't stand with that at all. Last article for my friends over at DAT. 2022 produce season is off to the slowest start in years. This came from Dean Croakey. Although volumes are starting to improve, it may not be enough to see reefer spot rate increase materially, to the traditional July seasonal peak. According to the USDA, national weekly truckload volumes, domestic and imported, are down 22% year over year, the lowest since 2017. Imported produce volumes, including blueberries from Mexico, are down 2% year over year, while total imports from Canada are up 31% year over year. Even though U.S. blueberries are grown in 13 states, around 28% of consumers' demand is met through imports from Mexico, Chile, Peru, over the winter, with the transition from imported to domestic strawberries peaking between April and August of each year. Typically, around 46% of annual volume is shipped through this 5-month season. I think it's that's obviously going to throw an effect on things, especially because California is the biggest annual producer for produce. You got California, Texas, and South Florida and stuff like that can produce. They have the climate to produce this 12 months out of the year. But that's kind of what, in my opinion, is what is causing this more than any, is because the drought that has been happening out here. I'm not a scientist or anything like that, but I know less water doesn't mean more output for fucking farming. So.
Yeah, but the thing about it is the Southeast, we've also had our issues with produce as well. I mean, corn is slow right now.
Yeah,
corn coming out of the ground. I'm from the South Carolina area, so North and South Carolina, we're big on corn, tobacco, and things like that. Soybean, and some of those things are slow coming out of the ground this year too as well. It's just been kind of weird, man. But even though that we're not going to hit that July 4th peak, I mean, we're still going to have harvest. We're going to still have harvest. We're still going to have demand for harvest. We're still going to need carriers for harvest. And at some point, I don't think that, capacity is going to be able to meet. So, we should see an uptick in it. We just might not see that uptick around the 4th of July. But harvest is just going to be a moving target. It's just going to slip down a couple of weeks later, because that stuff still's got to come out of the ground. I am kind of concerned about that import stuff, though. That's kind of interesting. That stuff coming from Mexico and Peru. That's it's pretty eye-opening.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is, though, because it does state in the article that it's just over the winter that goes on. But yeah, no, I'm right there with you. Again, I talk about this a lot on the show. I would love to have as less dependence on the foreign markets for some of our goods that are out there. Like, I understand the benefits of all of this and like the climates of it and everything else and how certain areas of the world produce, can produce 12 months out of the year. But, you look at diesel right now, you look at steel, you look at a lot of things. I don't think a country shutting down for whatever reason should affect us here in the United States. Like, we are a lot better than this, and we should be set up to be a lot better than this, to be more America first than we currently are. I personally think it's pathetic how reliant we are on the world market for a lot more stuff than people realize. And all of this shit is coming to light right now, Adam. I think more than ever is how reliant we really are. And again, I understand from a cost perspective and a business perspective of a global market, but we should be fucking fully independent here, like, in my opinion.
I understand, and I agree with that. I do wholly agree with you. The problem is that we swap trees for concrete all the time. And the thing is, like, I'm from rural South Carolina, and when I first moved up to Charlotte back in 1999, there was hardly nothing. I mean, you had farmlands that was still that was here. You still had, but then now you look at it now. I mean, you can't even find a tree in Charlotte. There's skyscrapers, condos, and all that stuff's gone. So a lot of the land that we use to farm, and then also, when you think about it, farming is not cool anymore. A lot of those, the old traditional farmers, once they went off, that generation really is not catching up and doing those things. So yeah, we have to be dependent on countries that actually, still do use agriculture as their primary source of economic production within their own infrastructures. But we just, it's just unfortunate. But like, you look in the Southeast, man, as we grow, as we continue to gain steam, we're taking less and less on the farming side and add more and more concrete. I think that it's hard to even kind of fathom that. But then, when I go home, I just, when I go back home to rural South Carolina and see some of those fields that, that I used to see that used to be just sprawling, they're not there anymore. They got, replaced with developments and things. It's just weird, man, how things shift. But I do believe that it'd be great if we can grow a lot of that stuff, a lot of that stuff here. Agriculture could boom here, but I guess that's a different type of discussion.
I mean, I think it's very relative. And I think, like, if anything, these last couple of years should have opened people's eyes to the fact that we should never be like, because, like, obviously there's a lot of shit we can't control in life. We should never be in a position to where we don't have, hint, baby formula, shit like that. Like, that should never be a fucking thing at all. Like, it's pathetic that was a thing.
Did you see that I was reading an article that we're only down to the last 11 days of wheat supply or something like that?
I saw something like that. I take a lot of what mainstream media with a grain of salt with some of that stuff. I don't know, because, some of these people are incentivized to pump fear into there. I can't accurately formulate an opinion on that, but if that's real, that's fucking bad. But, like, historically speaking, how does that compare to other times? Did it list it in there?
How do you even measure it? How do you measure how much? How do you I mean, I guess that you would measure that based on overall, just consumption histories and how we consume it on history by the bushel. And if we're saying that we're consuming, 500 million bushels every single week, and all of a sudden now we don't have 500 million bushels in supplies, then maybe I don't know where they would get that from. But it's just weird that all of a sudden we're just short on every damn thing these days.
I know. I'm starting to think it's less and less of a coincidence with some of these things at this point.
It might as well could be.
Yeah, man. I don't know. I think that this is, roll your sleeves up. That's my take. Roll your sleeves up. Shit's real right now, for a lot of people. But that doesn't mean that we quit. That doesn't mean that we give up. We figure it the fuck out. That's what we do here in America. We figure it out. No matter what. I will never back away from the statement that we're the greatest nation on earth, and we need to all step up collectively right now and work with each other, kind of like we were talking about at the beginning of this show. All right, we need to work with each other. We need to shatter these traditional fucking silos that are in this industry, because it starts with us. Like, because it's like, if you're sitting there, and I think about this a lot too, like, hey, what can I do? What more can I do? To me, let's take care of ourselves first. Take care of your local community. What can you do inside of your four walls? And then set that example, and then expand out from there.
I totally agree. I think you hit the nail on the head more importantly than not. I think this time now is our time to kind of slow down and let's just take care of each other. I think we need to work on figuring out how we can fix this thing together, which is why I enjoy what you're doing, is because you're trying to bring that together. You're trying to bring both sides together, and accountability is really important. Stop with the finger pointing. Stop saying it's this person's fault and that's the person's point. What can you do? Look in the mirror and take some accountability of the actions, because everybody on this call, everybody that's in the comments, you have a voice. You have a position. You have a really strong opportunity to help be a part of that change. And you just got to look in the mirror and see what we can do collectively to make that change. What needs to be changed, let's do it.
Yeah, that's exactly it. If you want change, you be the change. It's that simple. Start with you. That's it, man. Jory Myers, what's up, man? Let's go. Every day. Well, hey, that's it for today, you guys. That was the 3 articles. Last one was from my friends over at DAT, written by Dean Croakey about the produce market and everything else that's out there. So that's it for today, you guys. We're out. We break down these 3 articles. So this is it. The Freight Coach Morning Show, the top morning show in transportation. We're coming to you live every single weekday, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 Central. The replay of this will be available on my podcast, Coffee with the Freight Coach, here in a little bit, the audio-only version of that. We got a new episode dropping for a full-length interview tomorrow morning on that. We got the video replays available directly over on YouTube, including the links for these articles, so you guys can check them out right there. Samantha Bass, you have a great day as well. I appreciate you guys all so much. We will be back tomorrow. Patrick L., there we go. We got another first-time viewer. Let's roll. This is a fucking movement, and we're not stopping, all right? Every single weekday, we are here. And coincidentally, I'm going to be live on Monday because it's a holiday, and I know all of you guys are going to be out there moving freight. If freight's moving, the Freight Coach is moving too. I appreciate you guys all so much, and we'll be talking to you soon.